Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Theory Restart video. So in today's video, guys, we are on the free to play, but it's not really a free to play update. You will get one minor update, I guess, because we will showcase a Terramaton Health 4 run, which you haven't seen the update on that. Uh, but the whole purpose of today's video is to talk about Leon and whether or not she needs a buff for newer players, right? Or low spend players, because this is the free SSR that everyone gets when they start the game. So this is supposed to be your main character. However, what we've seen is after a week, people reset this character and then just put the lattices that you're kind of forced to put into her in someone else. Now, the game is having its quote unquote global launch in Asia. The joke going around is that we are the beta for that market because it's much bigger than the one that we're in, which might be the case, but who knows? But those players are going to be starting with Leon as well. So I think this is a really good opportunity for the devs to kind of take a look at Leon. On top of that, the RTA season ends in 2 weeks, which is whenever they do their buffs and nerfs. Now, they haven't done any nerfs yet because they don't want to give anybody a reset. Uh, However, with the global launch coming out, I do think it'd probably be a good time to do nerfs because then that reset event can coincide with the global launch of Asia, Japan, and Korea. So, what do I think of Leon? Because on this free to play, I've relegated myself to just using the 2 free SSRs that the game gives you. So I might be one of the few people out there that actually has a bunch of lattices into Leon. Now, uh, footnotes. She's very strong. I think she's quite underrated. The thing that works in her favor is a lot of content is very weak or kind of focused around red AoE damage dealers. There's a couple pieces of content, like Doki Doki, where she's useless. There's other pieces where she's really weak to certain characters or whatever, but like there's shell dungeons, there's also Ethernet Rally and Ember Trek stages where like Sharon is the main boss, and or even Cage Rumble, where the amount of buffs on your character is what deals damage, not the debuffs. And Leon also does more damage the more buffs that she has on her, right? So it's weird that the game's kind of focused around her. And I talked about this before. She's one of the few AoE damage dealers and the only AoE damage dealer for fire, like on an attack basis, because you do have Holden when it comes to defense scaling. But there's a lot of things working in Leon's favor. So I've used her on Terramaton up to health 4 on this account. Now, you have to realize that the amount of gear that I have on my team is nowhere near what it can be on someone else's team. So you can see the stats here. She's got like 4,000 some attack. Her crit damage is okay. Her crit rate is at 91%, which it doesn't need to be this high. And she does have 3 copies. Now, I do have a 12-piece momentum and an 8-piece onslaught. I do not have access to Fury Edge yet. But let's just take a glimpse at this run and get an idea of the amount of damage that she can do. Just to show you, her damage output. So a lot of this depends on Dinah actually landing all of her debuffs. Okay, so let's take a look at this first hit. So she has these 6 buffs, and she's on momentum set. So 63,000, like, that is not bad. And then the follow-up from the White Fang, on health 4, someone who still doesn't have, the most ideal kind of pieces when it comes to my matrix sets, like, that damage is not bad. This skill too, also if this lines up, like the boss is below 50% HP all from Leon. So in my opinion, the damage is quite impressive within like a small amount of time because I think we all know Chloros hits quite hard. He's a pretty good hero, and that's who most people usually reset Leon for if they pulled him. I was one of those people. Um, But I was really excited about doing this free to play series to just see if she could carry. And in all honesty, I think all the content that she's usable in, she's quite good. The thing that holds back a free to play account like this is no access to a really good damage dealer when it comes to green. That's the biggest issue. You have gray, which is fine, but the problem is the HP on the Doki Doki waves is just way too high. Um, and you need speed almost everywhere. Like the game scales really hard with speed, which is the thing that ends up hampering you to progress fast enough. But just from this instance, like Leon, I think is a very, very solid damage dealer, and her kit is good. Now, I do have some suggestions on how to make it just a little bit better, but Hell 4, right? I'm maybe 20 days into this account, and I've just invested in Leon and Lingluo, and we're doing this pretty consistently. This is about an 80% clip. So this is pretty nice. Health 4 Terramaton. Now, what do I think can change with her kit? The thing that I think is holding her back the most is on her skill 1, this static passive. It says each buff increases this, and if you skill it up, it can be up to like 30% additional damage. The issue is she doesn't buff herself, right? I would love, like, I think a really nice thing that they can do on this is they can have, like, at the start of Leon's turn, she gives herself a random buff similar to Valerian. Where Valerian, when she's in that hazy state, she gives someone that basic buff effect, uh, whatever they don't have. If Leon had that on her skill 1, I think it would make her already significantly better. It should prioritize like attack up or something like that, similar to how Valerian's works. But she should be able to give herself like speed up, crit rate, crit damage, any of those things. And yeah, like I think that's necessary because the one thing that I found is outside of like certain characters, getting a whole lot of buffs on your team is not very easy. Especially for free to play players who don't have access to some of the better ones like the Yentin or things like that. So I think that would go a long way. The second thing is if her skill 2 was prioritized to go first, I think that would be awesome because then even though the White Fang is a really good shell on her, if you could get this to be, a 5 hitter at the start of her turn at the beginning of the battle. If you do the other thing that I mentioned, which is give her that random buff, this would be a 5 hitter with Revelation, which would be kind of a game changer. I think we all know as you start to scale up in the game, you need to kill bosses fast. You can't really do like the tank game very well in this like later stages of the game, and you need to burst down. So if you gave Leon the option to have the ability to just revelation on this skill too, I think that would also help. Now, when it comes to this, the weird thing is the game, as you progress, the bosses get more, they nerf turn meter reduction. So they gave you a starting character that gets worse as the game goes on. It shouldn't be like that. In my opinion, the PvE side should be straightforward with some of the freer characters that they give you. Yes, you might have to invest in them, like I have into Leon, but you shouldn't have the game work against them. There's also bosses like Rango Kutsu that can't be turn meter pushed. You have Sharon who has immunity, so she can't be turn meter pushed. So this skill ends up becoming completely worthless. What I would do is I would completely remove the turn meter steal aspect of this or keep it. You can keep it if you want to, but it should have a line similar to like Leon's or not Leon, Lilium, how she has that line on her kit where it says, when the target is a boss, it increases the final damage by 50%. So I think it should have something on there where if the bosses have a turn meter reduction resistance, or if they can't be turn meter reduced, this skill does, you know, 100% more damage or something like that. That would be really cool if they're just helping the people. And again, it's going to be at the final lattice area here. So it's not like it comes with it. It's just like you can have it be an increase of 25%. But if you fully lattice this instead, the turn meter steal, it's just your increased damage multiplier because it would be a huge AoE and it would only be for PvE. Not that she's going to be good in PvP anyway, but uh, then you don't have like people just nuking people on the lower stages of PvP. That's irrelevant anyway. It's all speed. But those are the things that I think she needs. Um, right now, she is serviceable. I'm getting a lot of things done with her, uh, and I have not regretted putting the lattices into her. However, I can already see an issue whenever we're gonna get into like Sharon Inferno, when we're gonna get into Rango Kutsu. All of those things are gonna be a problem for Leon to be your main DPS, and I don't know how she's gonna do on Terramaton Inferno. So, anyway, yeah, just a fun little video that I was kind of thinking about, especially with, you know, the character buffs and, the rebalancing kind of coming up after the RTA season. Figured I'd throw my ring into the hat there and give my 2 cents. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. Appreciate you watching. Catch you on the next one. See ya.